Okay, we are now live streaming and I'm going to start the recording so that we don't forget. Jamie made it in.
Just barely. It kept trying to make me log in, and then it didn't like my login and tried to make me switch accounts.
I think it has to do with the OPRD, and so I sent it to just Oregon.gov.
Oh, maybe that's it, because I just made a new account with the @OPRD because I was having trouble getting into the other one.
I don't know why that is, but if if Ian or John, if they click on the very last link that they should have just got, that would be the Oregon one.
I got in through the meeting ID and password, so I think that'll work.
Thank you for joining, Alex. We're having just a couple technical difficulties, and we're getting the rest of our panelists on, and we will begin shortly. Thanks for being patient. Oh, Alex is no longer on. And Jamie, just so you know, we've started recording and live streaming.
Yeah, I saw. The things that still throw us off, even though they switched our email account 6 months ago.
Zoom was working just fine for a very long time until we needed to do a public hearing. So
Yeah.
that seems right on point.
Yep.
And I think it's when we register people as panelists, it messes it up. If we just let you all register yourselves, then we do fine.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, something to do with the registering people as panelists. We try to outsmart the system in it.
Right, it's like your email doesn't match. I was like, okay, it must be my other email, and so I switched the account, and it was like, no, your email doesn't match. I was like, no, I don't know what to do. Yeah, Ian and John are still having trouble. They cannot get in using the ID and password.
Hi, Gary. Hi, Kurt. We're still having a couple technical difficulties, just trying to get the rest of our panelists on. We'll try for a few more minutes, and if not, we can get underway with my introductions and then with Jamie leading the rest of the presentation. So thank you for being patient.
Sending them an invite through the meeting here, so maybe that will help.
Jamie, you may have to send it twice to both oprd.org and just Oregon. Jamie, how do you feel if we get started here in a couple more minutes?
Yeah, we can. If someone's still helping them, yeah, I'm fine to go ahead and get started while they try to make their way in.
Great. Hi, Gary. I see your comment. The unmute is not available to you until we get to the public comment portion of the meeting. And once it gets to your turn to give your public testimony, I will make you a presenter where you can do so. So thanks for being patient with that. We'll take question and answers on the process in the chat here before we get to that portion. So we'll get started here. Katie, I think if you can continue to help John and Ian get on, Jamie and I can lead the way. We don't want to keep people waiting for too long. Okay, with that being said, everybody, welcome to the OPRD Archaeology Permit Rule Public Hearing. This meeting was supposed to begin at 6 p.m. Again, apologies for the technical difficulties that we're still going through, and hopefully will resolve itself as we go on. Today is Wednesday, May 25th, 2022. My name is Jo Niehaus, and I'm your hearings officer, and we will continue with Jamie French, the State Historic Preservation Office archaeologist, and let's get into it. The agenda for today is pretty straightforward. We'll have some introductions. We'll talk about the hearing structure as we're doing right now. We'll move on into background on the rule and the rule updates and the proposed update rules. And then we'll have some time for question and answer that we'll do through the question and answer portion. We'll do through the chat function. We'll read aloud questions on the process, and we'll provide you with clarifying answers. We do ask you to hold any public testimony until we get to the opportunity for public comment. People will come up one by one by becoming a panelist. We will unmute you. You can have your video on. You can unmute your microphones. You can give your testimony for up to 3 minutes, and that'll be part of the formal record. You can continue to provide us with comments online. You can also mail them in or email them into our public comment inbox, and we'll be taking those comments on this particular rule until June 1st. So Jamie, I'll turn it over to you. Just let me know when you're ready for me to move the slides.
All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm Jamie French, the Assistant State Archaeologist for the Oregon SHPO. So for this rule, the applicable statute is ORS 390.235, titled Permits and Conditions for Excavation or Removal of Archaeological or Historical Material. The statute states that a person may not excavate, alter, or do an exploratory archaeological investigation on public lands without an archaeological permit from the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department. This law also pertains to public lands. You can advance. The director, with the advice of the Oregon Indian Tribes and the executive officer of the Legislative Commission on Indian Services, shall adopt rules governing the issuance of archaeological permits. And this was what was written into statute when we decided to open up this rule. All right, next slide. Okay, so what this rule does, this permit or this rule identifies who can apply for an archaeological permit. Currently, those people are known as qualified archaeologists. What this also determines what is needed in a permit application, what the process is for applying for a permit on public and private lands, including identifying entities with review authority and their role in approving, conditioning, or objecting to a permit application. The rule outlines the process for an expedited permit, which undergo a shorter review period than a standard permit, and outlines the dispute resolution process for permits, as well as for the dispensation of human remains back to tribes. Next. So this revision was taken on mainly because when looking at the rule, it's fairly out of date. The current rule was adopted in 1994, over almost 30 years ago, and it includes many terms that are not defined, which is creating problems with transparency coming from our office. People do not always understand the lens that we are looking through or the definition of the terms that we are using to make our decisions. And so coming up with a new or better definition for terms such as those you can see, such as those on the screen, will help everyone be on the same page. Additionally, some terms are not inclusive, such as the definition of a scholar. The term is used such that recovered items may be available for scholarly research. And in the current rule, we've expanded that understanding to include traditional cultural practitioners. There's also no current process in the rule for what happens if you fail to comply with the terms and conditions of a permit, which has become a growing problem over the years. Not that there are a lot of bad archaeologists, we just need a mechanism to work through these issues to make sure compliance is carried out in the event a permit is violated. Holding an archaeological permit is a huge responsibility and should be treated as such. Okay, next. So where are we at in the revision process? OPRD is the group that has authority over the rule, and they internally reached out to Heritage Division, SHPO, as the director's designees that carry out the rule in early August to begin the rule revision process. Per statute, we reached out to LCIS and Oregon's federally recognized tribes to let them know there was a possibility we were going to be revising the rule and asking about the best way to contact them and communicate with them during the rule process. John Pauly was responsible for collecting responses from each tribe. In September, we sent formal letters to LCIS and the tribes with copies of the current rule, asking for any advice that they had with revising the rule. We reached out to the tribes and LCIS during in October and November on a regular basis to keep communication flowing and to meet with technical staff. And we received responses from most of the tribes by the middle of November. In December, we met with the tribes and LCIS with our draft of the rule, including their comments. And we met with them to discuss any questions or concerns they had about what the rule looked like after their comments. This was an all-day event, received a lot of great feedback, and helped us crafting the new rule. After that meeting, we created another draft of the rule, and in January, we sent out the official government-to-government consultation letters to the tribes and reiterated that we would be happy to continue working with technical staff during the rule process. In February and March, we convened the Rule Advisory Committee, and they met for 3 6-hour meetings, which were filled with discussion. We were really afraid we weren't going to get done and trying to figure out if we could add another meeting, but luckily we didn't have to. In March, we had another virtual forum with the tribes and LCIS to get their opinion on the draft of the rule that was created based upon the RAC meetings. And this was done at the request of those parties during the December virtual forum. At that meeting, they didn't really have many edits to make, just questions about future processes based on the way the rule looked. Next slide. So the Rule Advisory Committee was involved to represent the State Curational Facility, which is the University of Oregon Museum of Natural and Cultural History, the League of Oregon Cities, represented by City of Salem, the Association of Oregon Counties, state agencies, professional archaeologists affiliated with the Association of Oregon Archaeologists, universities, and federal agencies. In selecting the Rule Advisory Committee participants, we leaned heavily on the group identified in statute and rule as having a role in the process of issuing an archaeological permit. And additionally, professionals who apply for permits, universities who train professional archaeologists, and federal agencies who often contract archaeological work. The work that the RAC did substantially improved our original version of the rule. And next slide. All right, in April, the Oregon Parks Commission voted to open rulemaking, including the public comment period, and allow the rule revision to proceed. We have already been contacted by the Department of Justice based on the draft rule that went before the committee, and they have some minor tweaks that will be needed before the rule can be adopted by the Parks Commission that we already know about that are not included in that current rule. On May 2nd, the public comment period opened for a 60-day comment period. This today is the public hearing for the rule and a chance for you to tell us what comments you have and the chance for us to answer any questions you might have on this process. The public comment period will close at 5 p.m. on July 1st. During July and August, John and I will be working to incorporate any comments from the public comment period and any final comments from DOJ. If there are no substantial issues in August, we will be preparing another commission brief to be included in the September Parks Commission meeting with the intention of going through the commission in September and asking them to adopt the rule. And based on the outcome of that, a very, very tentative schedule of preparing for rule implementation towards the end of the year and beginning permits under the new rule in January 2023. And that's it for me, Joe.
Thank you so much, Jamie. We also have John Foley State archaeologist on with us. So if anyone has, or John, if you need to unmute and jump in anywhere, just let us know. We're to the point in the agenda now where we can discuss the questions about processes or anything clarifying that'll help with your testimony. And if anyone has any questions, it doesn't look like there's been anything posted into the chat yet. Now is the time. You can also put it into the question and answer portion of Zoom. Give folks a couple minutes. Okay, well, we only have 3 attendees here on the Zoom public hearing. So if you have any burning questions, please do type them in. We can jump into them. But we will for now move on directly to the public testimony. So this is where I will, as your hearing officer, have a long script to read out loud, and I'll just jump into that before we can really get started. So this hearing is now in session and is being recorded to maintain a public permanent record. My name is Joni House and I'm the hearings officer. Today's Wednesday, May 25th, 2022, and the time is 6:25 p.m. The purpose of this hearing is to provide an opportunity for public comment on the proposed rule changes to OAR 736-51 0000 through 0090 by the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department regarding process for applying for state of Oregon archaeological excavation permits on non-federal public and private lands and the dispute resolution process. The agency invites comments about whether other options should be considered for achieving the rule's goals while reducing the negative impact on business. In addition to presenting oral comments at this hearing, anyone may submit written comments until 5 p.m. on July 1st, 2022, which is the close of the public comment period. Comments received after the close of the public comment period will not be reviewed or considered by the agency unless the agency decides to extend the public comment period for everyone. Send comments to the public comment mailbox or on the website or to the State Parks office. Those addresses will be posted on the PowerPoint slide on my screen after the public comments, after the public testimonies are given today. OPRD will not respond to questions during this hearing. After the close of the public comment period, staff will prepare a report to the agency, which will be available from the agency upon request and be presented to the Parks Commission as they consider adoption of these rules. If you have any questions as part of your testimony, I would appreciate it if you could state those questions as concerns for the record. Please do not ask questions of those who are making formal comment, and to provide better context for the comments, I may ask follow-up questions. To respect each speaker, anyone not presenting has been muted. I ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. Again, you may submit written comments up until the close of the public comment period. The chat feature can be utilized for process questions, but we ask that any formal public comment be submitted in writing via mail, email, or online. When it is your turn to comment, you will be moved into a presenter role and a timer will appear on the screen. So first, we will have Kurt Rodell. Kurt, we're gonna give you an unmute option.
Hi, thanks. Actually, I was just listening in, but I will add that ODOT, as an agency, the Cultural Resources section will be submitting comments prior to July 1st. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. That was easy. And Jessica, will have you up next.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, that took a little bit to get set up. I don't have any formal comments. Honestly, I was going to say a similar thing to what Kurt was saying. So thank you.
Okay. And next we have Gary. Gary, we'll move you to panelists. I'm not sure if you had public comment there. I know you posted a few things in the chat. If you don't, let us know and we can change that. It looks like you're unmuted, Gary, but we can't hear you if you're speaking. Again, not getting any sound from you, Gary.
Now, here we go.
We're good to go. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just joining the webinar also just to listen to comments and see where folks stood on the rulemaking process. So I didn't really have anything else to say either. I just other than I'm an archaeologist for our Department of State Lands. But other than that, I have no contributions. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary. And thank you, Kurt and Jessica, as well for your non-testimony testimonies. We'll be looking forward to those written comments. And doesn't seem like we have any other attendees on. So we'll move on. And like we said earlier, if anyone wants to continue to submit public comments, we have it very readily available to do online onto our website, email directly into our public comment inbox, or to be sent via mail and straight to our State Parks office. Thank you so much for coming and providing us with your comments. This hearing is adjourned. Thank you again for your patience dealing with the technical issues. However, as stated earlier, we will still be accepting the comments until July 1st, 5 p.m. Have a good evening.